Welcome, everybody. This is the second episode of my new YouTube channel, The Bugsy Collection. My name is Tim, and on this channel, I'll be chronicling my card collecting journey going forward, as well as going back and telling some stories from time to time about when my dad, Bugsy, and I collected back in the 80s. For starters, I want to thank everybody. After I made my first video 2 weeks ago, the response from you guys was just it was really awesome. I got lots of texts from my friends in the card collecting community encouraging me. I got lots of comments on my videos, some comments on my Instagram channel or my Instagram account, and all just very encouraging. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and it was just a reminder to me of how awesome the people are in the community, and the cards are great, but the relationships, the friendships that you make along the way, those are even better. So my first video was about it was really my origin story of collecting, how I got started, and how I was reintroduced into the hobby last summer at last year's National, and then today, primarily on this video, it's going to be a recap of the National this year in Chicago. That was at the end of July, 1st of August. I'll show you my pickups. I had a massive haul, 25 cards, I think, that I picked up. But before I get to that, I thought it would be good to just kind of do a very brief synopsis of what happened with my dad's collection once I got back from the National last year in Cleveland. From that time up until I went to the National in Chicago this year. So I got back home from the National. I got some cards graded. Was back into collecting, and all of my dad's belongings. When my mom passed away back in 2016, we sold their house. Dad moved in here with us, and he kept some of his stuff, that didn't go into his room here at our house. It all went to the storage facility, a couple miles from where we live, and all the baseball cards went over there. 2 metal cabinets, probably 4 feet wide, 6 feet tall, deep enough to hold an 800 count box. There were 2 of those, and they were just absolutely stuffed with sets, loose cards, everything raw, unopened packs, unopened full boxes of wax packs, magazines, memorabilia, baseballs, stuff signed, just things that Dad had collected through the years and that I had collected with him. He'd gotten really into NASCAR. There was a ton of die-cast cars. So I didn't really have room for all that stuff to come back here to the house. So had to decide what to do with it. So I'm like, well, if I'm gonna, I'm kind of back into things a little bit, and wanting to collect some, and I don't think Dad would mind if I sold these things. And then I think he would get a really big kick out of the fact that took those items, the things that he had collected, sold those, and then reinvested that, and kind of started over fresh in the hobby. I know I can remember back when I was probably 10 or 11 years old and had a talk with my dad. And my dad said it was just really important for him that I find something like a hobby or something, outside of playing a sport, something to be interested in, something to spend, something good, something wholesome, something that I could invest my time in and have some fun with. So when we both started getting into card collecting together, I mean, that was just the perfect avenue. And, as I've thought a lot about things, since my dad passed away, and just kind of our journey, I think I said when I got to about 20 years old, I didn't really collect anymore, and didn't really have, I don't know, I just didn't have any interest in it. I had a family all of a sudden. I got married. We were married for about a year and a half. We had our first child. Then we pretty quickly had two more. So we had our hands full. My wife stayed at home. We're very active at church. So all of a sudden, our lives were consumed by our kids and the things that our kids did. So didn't really have any interest in collecting. And then I actually had a little bit of guilt over it because my dad still collected, and I kind of wish that I had still done it some with him. But I was thinking the other day, just in the last couple of weeks, my mind went back to that talk where my dad said that it was important to him that I had a hobby. And he got his wish, because here I am at 56 years old, 36 years after I stopped collecting, and that seed that my dad planted, it's taken hold and it's growing, and it's just perfect timing in my life to have a hobby. We're very active with my church. Like I said, my kids live in 3 different cities, so we do kind of have a little bit of free time now. Because the kids aren't in the same city with us. So, outside of going to church and, spending time with my wife and working, I do have some free time. So Dad's wish that I would have a hobby. I feel like now that I kind of have a little bit of relief, and I don't feel that guilt anymore. And I don't know. It's just cool. It's just cool. So I'll stop rambling. So I spent the last year selling those items. Had no idea where to start. When I got back from the National, Tony, Southern Collector Tony, introduced me to 4 or 5 Facebook baseball groups that I joined, and just started looking at people selling cards, and just didn't buy anything, but just started watching how it works to understand how people sell things. So after I watched that for a while, I go to the cabinets over at storage and kind of start deciding, okay, how am I going to start selling some of these things? So spent the next year selling stuff on in the Facebook groups. I'd run auctions on unopened packs. I sold some autographed baseballs on there. And in the things that I didn't want to ship, like I probably had 50 sets, and I didn't want to get into where I had to ship those sets. So I actually used Facebook Marketplace for those. We went to eBay and looked at sales on eBay, and then kind of decided how I was going to price these sets and price these unopened boxes of wax, and listed all of those on Facebook Marketplace. Got quite a bit of response there, and actually wound up selling quite a bit of it to the same person, the guy that I met. So spent I actually did that up until Thanksgiving. That's really all I did from when I got back to the National. Well, I did buy a little bit too, but from once I got back to the National till November, pretty much sold everything in those cabinets and just stockpiled cash for the National this coming year, because I knew that Tony and I were going to go. One thing that we always had over at my mom and dad's house, and this was my dad's display of stuff, and it actually came here with us, with my dad when he moved in with us. And let me see if I can. This is my first shot at using StreamYard, so have patience with me. But let me see if. So the display's kind of junky here, because I had started pulling things and shoving things into this bookcase. But I actually made this bookcase when I was, I think, in the 10th grade in high school. I made this bookcase, just for the purpose of putting baseball cards in it. So this sat at my mom and dad's until my mom passed away, and then it's now here with me. So you can see these baseballs. I wound up selling all of the non-Hall of Fame baseballs that we had autographed. I sold those. And then the Hall of Fame baseballs, we had a bunch of doubles. So I kept the best one of each that I had multiples of, and sold the extra that maybe not was quite as good as the one I kept. I did keep my doubles in Mantle. I've got a couple of Mantle balls, so I did keep those. So now I'm probably down to, I don't know, 10 or 12 baseballs, something like that I've kept. Maybe 20. So anyway, we spent all that time, or I spent all that time building up my war chest of cash to take to the National with us this year. So Tony planned, Tony, he's such a great guy. He got our flights. He booked the hotel room. And we head off to Chicago. We flew up to Chicago on Wednesday morning. I think our flight out was about 8:30. So we landed in Chicago that morning. We go to the hotel, we check in. We can't wait to get over the show. So we go ahead and we walk over across the street to the show. Pro tip, we did get VIP tickets. Last year, we didn't know what we were doing when we went to Cleveland. We did not buy the VIP tickets. This year, we kind of talked about it. Tony said he wanted to get the VIP tickets, and I'm like, why do we need to get the VIP tickets, dude? And he said, well, you get in early. So I'm like, okay. So I bought the tickets. It was the least I could do since he got there, got our flights in the hotel room. And boy, was that a big win having the VIP tickets, because number one, you got to go in an hour early. And number two, you got to avoid that huge line that on Thursday and Friday stretched over all the way out of the National, down the street and around the corner. It had to be thousands of people, but you didn't have to wait in that line. Plus, you had access to the lounge. So here is, hang on, guys. Like I said, I'm learning the technology. This is my first time using StreamYard. And there we go. There's me and Tony at the National. And we wore the orange hats. Last year we wore the orange, or he had his orange hat on last year, and it was very easy for me to find him when we would get separated looking at cards. So I said, hey, a few days before, I said, are you going to take your orange hat? And he said, well, I don't know. I'm probably going to wear my khaki hat, and I've got a blue one. And I said, dude, last year that worked out great, and it was so easy to see you. I'm going to wear my orange hat. He said, well, I'll bring mine too. So that worked out great. That's my Bugsy shirt. That was actually my dad's shirt. One of my daughters got that for my dad. I've kept that, and I wore it actually last year to the National for the first time. I don't wear it a ton, but the National was a great occasion to break it out. So as I was preparing to go to the National, I thought, I've got this huge pile of cash that I'm taking with me. I need to make a list. I need to make a list. So here is the wish list that I made for the National. So well, it actually started last year at the National, and then it's kind of what I've been pursuing since then. I decided that, man, I love the old Yankees. I'm going to work on player runs for Yogi Berra, a player run for Whitey Ford, They're both pretty affordable, and I've kind of been buying cards for them through the last year. So my number one card I wanted to get this year, if I didn't come home with anything else, a 1954 Topps Hank Aaron rookie. And I am obsessed with eye appeal. And usually what I am looking for is something in the four range. I'll go down to 2 or 3, but I really like to stay in the 4 range. And I'm looking for good corners, no creases, no wrinkles, good color. And man, I need that centering to be as close to perfect as possible. If it's off, I'll give in sometimes, but if it's off-centered very much, I'm just not going to buy it. So I'm looking for high eye appeal in a Topps Hank Aaron rookie. I've been looking at the Yogi Berra rookies online, and you see quite a few of those, but I just like buying the big cards in person. It's kind of I don't know, it's just you kind of get a buzz buying them in person, and usually they're going to, you're spending a little bit more money. So I want to look at it. I want to see it. I want to be able to touch the slab, look at it, and make sure that it checks all the boxes for me. So Yogi Berra rookies number 2, a 1951 Bowman Whitey Ford rookie. That's number 3. I've had a hard time. I see a lot of these online, but very few centered. My dad was working on a Roger Maris player run, and he didn't finish it. And I picked up and started filling in the blanks. And I think I've bought probably 3 or 4. Dad's missing maybe 5 cards. And I picked up 4 of those, and we're down to a 65 Topps Roger Maris. Very hard to find this card centered. Very hard to find it centered. So those are my top 4. Gotta find these. Have to find these at the National before I come home. Okay, here's this bottom list. These would be gravy items if I find these. Gravy, a 49 Bowman Yogi Berra, beautiful card. Love that card. Red background. Looking for one of those. A 58 Topps World Series batting foes. I'll get to that a little bit later. Also, a 53 Bowman Yogi, a 53 Bowman Phil Rizzuto. I'm into the old Yankees. Mantle mostly is out of my reach. So Yogi, Whitey, Phil, the Hall of Famers, those are who I'm after. And a 52 Topps Jim Turner, and I'll get to why later. So this is got to find these. This is my gravy list. So we head over to the National. We get there early, and we're just kind of hanging out. I wish I kept a journal. I think next year I'm going to keep a journal. I'm going to write down who I meet, everything I do. I don't know. It's just fun to go back and look at those thoughts from awesome trips. So we walk over Wednesday. We get there early. We're hanging out. We get in. I think we got in at I want to say 3:00. And man, we're so excited, and we're walking around. When I've got my list, and we've been walking around for like 2 or 3 hours. And I don't like when I go to a show. I don't like. My wife, man, she has snapped decisions. If she's looking for something, the first one that she sees that is close to what she's looking for, and I'm not talking baseball cards, I'm talking whatever it is, she's going to buy it. I'm not like that at all. I need to look around. I want to make sure that it's a good deal. Maybe I'll find something that I like better. So I'm not going to buy something as soon as I walk into a show. So we start, we walk around, and we're there probably 2 hours, and I haven't bought a thing. And I told Tony, I said, I think I might be in that mode where it's like if you're, what's the right way to say this? You just got to jump in. I think I was trying to find the card. I was trying too perfect. Saw a few cards I kind of liked. I'm like, something's right. Now I'm not going to buy it. It's too off-centered. It's a corner messed up with that. Price is too high. And it's been 2 hours, and man, the money's burning a hole in my pocket. And I'm like, I got to find something. So my first pickup wasn't even on my list, but now why did I'm gonna have to get better at this. There it is. That's my first pickup. Not even on my list. Cheap card, but I love, like I said, I love the Yankees. Even if they're not Hall of Famers, I like the Yankee cards, the vintage golden era cards of the really, really good Yankee players. Love the 61 tops. Actually working on picking up all of the Hall of Famers 61 tops Yankee players. I think I have all of those now. We'll do a little display because I've got autographed baseballs by most of those as well. So that was my first pickup. Boo Scourin, not even on my list. I overpaid for it, but I didn't care. I think I paid $30. My next pickup was actually I didn't buy all of these at the same place. But I did buy all of these on Wednesday. I'm going to have to put my glasses on to be able to see. But that's a 1963 Topps Pride of the National League, Willie Mays and Stan Musial. My criteria for buying these leaders cards, I absolutely love the leader cards, guys. I love them. They're just so cool. And the ones that I buy are the cards where everyone on the card is a Hall of Famer. That's my criteria. I'm not into the ones if it's one Hall of Famer and another that's not a Hall of Famer. They got to all be Hall of Famers. So I didn't have any of these. So these were all relatively cheap. It's funny, this Willie Mays and Stan Musial card, Pride of the National League, in a PSA 7, these are really easy to find, and actually saw tons of these in a PSA 7, and I don't remember what I paid for that. It wasn't very much, maybe $100. Both of these cards to the right, love both of these cards, especially the one on the right, and this one is just now meeting my criteria as Dick Allen. I believe he just went into the Hall of Fame within the last 2 or 3 years. But picked up all three of these. They weren't, like I said, they weren't on my list. But again, I was having trouble finding things that I really came after. So I just had to buy something, guys. So these were my first 4 pickups. My next pickup, again, is not on my list. But it's a Hall of Famer, Herb Pennock for the Yankees, 33 Gowdy. He pitched on the 27 Yankees team. I think he won 19 games that year. Huge part of their team. I don't have hardly any of these Gowdies. This was not something that my dad collected. And I think maybe I have 2 or 3 of these. But love the card, saw it. Just an absolute knee-jerk reaction. It's funny. I got that night when I got back to the hotel and told Tony I'd bought it. He's like, dude, I brought one of those for a trade night and was going to sell it. I would have sold you mine. So this was my next to last pickup on Wednesday, and then got a really cool card. And a card that I just absolutely love. I'm really into the 53 Bowman color cards. I don't know about you guys, but the color on those cards, if you find one with good color, it's so vibrant, and the color just absolutely pops. And I bought several of these not several, I think 3 or 4 at the show this year. But this next one is one that I've been looking for. It wasn't on my list to find at the National, but man, when I saw this card, it checked all of the boxes. And here it is. It's the 53 Bowman Stan Musial in a 3. Corners just a little bit soft, centering absolutely perfect. And man, this card, Look at that card. Musial is just such an awesome guy. I met him at a golf tournament here. He was so nice. And man, this is just the golden era on a piece of cardboard. Love this card. And I love finishing up the day at a show strong and getting a card that you really love. And I left the show on a good note. It was a great first day. The first night we went to dinner at Shoeless Joe's, which was right down the street. We walked maybe a mile. We walked maybe a mile down to the restaurant, and it was myself, Tony, Southern Collector, Mike Petty, the amazing Mike Petty, Midlife Greg. He went, and Midlife Greg's dad, Coach. And we had the absolute best time. I had never met Coach, and I had never met Mike until Wednesday afternoon at the show, and really had never spent any time with him until that night at dinner. And I think I sat next to Coach. I think he was actually on my right. And we just had the best time. Just great guys. We talked about cards, talked about the kind of what's going on with card collecting now, the whole deal with SGC and PSA, but just had a really, really, really fun night. And man, we ate so much. We got this huge appetizer of everything fried under the sun was on this platter. We absolutely stuffed ourselves. And then at the end of the night, at the end of our dinner, right before we headed out, Greg FaceTimed our buddy Mookie. And it was sort of like when we get together at Thanksgiving in my family and we call my sister-in-law who lives in Seattle and we pass the phone around and talk to her. That's what we did with Mookie. And we passed Mookie around. It was just like Mookie was there with us. And I think he got a kick out of it too. So Tony and I, then we headed back to the hotel, and that was the end of day one. And it was a good day one, a very good day one. So day two, Thursday, I knew going in that Thursday was going to be the marathon day. I think the show hours 10 to 6. Is that what they were? So we got in an hour early with the VIP tickets. So we went to breakfast on Thursday morning. And I believe Thursday morning we ate at the hotel, and it was me and Tony and Mike Petty. We ate breakfast. I think that was Thursday morning. Walked over to the show. So we're going to be there 9 hours. And I know it's Thursday with my list, and I haven't found anything on my list yet. It's like Saturday at the Masters. Thursday's moving day. I got to find some stuff. Because Friday, I knew I had to leave the show Friday at about 3:00 because I had I think a 6:30 flight. I had to get back home for a family commitment on a Saturday. All my kids were going to be in town, so I wanted to be back home for that. So we knew Thursday was going to be a big day. And I had shared Wednesday night at dinner. One of the guys asked me what were the big cards that I was looking for. And I told him I'm looking for an Aaron rookie, the Berra, the Whitey Ford. I told him those three. So Greg said, I think we need to go. He said, we need to go first thing over to Tim Payne's table. Because I was at his table yesterday, Wednesday, era that was centered good, that I think you might like it. Plus, he said Tim always has good stuff. He has fair prices. So we made our way over to Tim Payne's table, and Greg was not. He was not telling the story. Everything he said was true. Tim had, for me personally, for my show, he had the best collection of vintage that's right in my wheelhouse. and I made a deal with him. It was a 5-card deal. It was the biggest multi-card deal that I did at the show. And here's the first pickup out of that deal. There's my Yogi Berra rookie. So in a PSA 2, he had it at a really fair price. And the centering is good. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got back home and I'm looking at it. And when you look at this card in person, it's a very nice card. It's centered. I got a really good price on it. So, I was looking for a 4 and expecting to have to spend, over $1,000. But I got out for way less than that, which left me money to spend on other things. But I'm just not certain that the brightness of the card is enough for me for one of my Grail cards. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to make any rash decisions. I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to look at it. And I'll make a decision about whether or not I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to try to upgrade a little bit. But still very happy. So this is one of the 5 cards that I bought from Tim. And here are the other 4. These cards are absolutely beautiful. Man, I just absolutely love the vintage Yankees, the old cards. This Bill Dickey, 52 Topps Bill Dickey. While it wasn't on my list for the National, I think the only reason it wasn't on my list for the National is because I forgot to put it on there. I've been dying for a 52 Topps Bill Dickey that's centered with decent corners, and this card is absolutely perfect for me. Couldn't have been happier. The Billy Martin wasn't on my list, but I'm always looking for nice Billy Martins. I love the 53s. The corners on this card are just great. So I picked it up. These 2 Yogis, these are both Yogis that I needed in my run, and I've been having a hard time finding these. These cards are the 53 Topps and the 53 Bowman. Those cards weren't cheap. They're fairly expensive for me, but just absolutely the color on this 53 is, man, I wish you could see this one in person. Just love these cards. So didn't have to do a ton of negotiating with Tim. We actually worked the deal out pretty quickly, added the prices up, of what he was asking, and, looked at VCP and made him an offer, and then he countered, and his counter was a very fair offer. So I accepted that. And was very excited. Spent a lot of time at his table, just a lot of time. Was probably there for an hour. Greg was there looking at cards with me. He asked me, he said, "Hey, if you need any help working on a deal, I'd be glad to help you with Tim." And I'm like, "No, I think I'm okay." So the guys actually wound up going and looking at cards at other tables, and I just stayed here by myself and worked out this deal and talked to Tim. Just a wonderful dude. Highly recommend him. I'll definitely be looking to buy more cards from him in the future. So not my top priority, but this was in that list of if we go back to our wish list, I just checked off number 2. So very happy, very happy. So at this point, a big one of the fun parts about when you go to a show too, and especially when you go with buddies, is showing them the cards that you've picked up. So I think I can't remember if I saw Tony and Greg and Mike and Coach after I bought that. I don't think I did. I don't think I saw them right after I bought that. So still on the hunt and continuing to walk tables by myself. And that's when I go to this one table, and it was a young guy, and he had mostly newer cards, not totally modern, but like when I say modern, I don't mean like this decade. But he had stuff in the 90s. He had stuff in the 2000s. And then right in the middle of his case, right in front of where he was standing, he had 4 or 5 really nice vintage cards. And one of them was a 1951 Bowman Whitey Ford. So I picked that card up and I said let me take a look at that. And the centering on that card, guys, absolutely perfect. The color, absolutely perfect. Couldn't have been happier. I said, oh my goodness, it's not even 15 minutes after I found the Yogi Berra rookie. And here's Whitey. There was one problem. It's a 5. So it was a little more money than I was wanting to tie up in this card. But considering how long I had been looking for this and how hard it's been to find one centered, and since I had the cash, so I looked at the comps, and yeah, it was going to be a few $100s more than what I was expecting to spend for a 4. And he had this card priced a little bit high, so I came in with a pretty aggressive offer at less than what he was asking. He was asking comps, but it was the very high end of comps. So I went under his asking price by $200 or $300, I think. And he said, "Well, let me go ask the guy. It's actually not my card." So he kind of disappeared. It was sort of felt like when you go and buy a car, and they said, "Well, let me go talk to my manager." And the guy comes back and he says, "Yeah, it's a deal." So I'm like, "Holy cow!" So there's 2 of my top 3s picked off my list, and just absolutely beautiful. I will not be getting rid of this card ever. This is one of my grails, and I plan on keeping this card for a very long time. So at this point, let me go over here and let me see what's next. I had a little bit of trouble with StreamYard, so I'm sort of wrestling with the technology still a little bit. But let me see. I made a few more pickups. Oh yeah. So yeah, I got one more big pickup on Thursday. By Thursday afternoon, I had covered the entire floor, and I had just about given up on finding a Hank Aaron. And I, had a handful of tables left to look through, and I thought, maybe I'm just not going to find it. I'm a patient guy. I can say no for a long time. I'm not going to spend this much money and settle for a card that doesn't check the boxes. And I walked up to this case, and the guy had 3 Hank Aaron rookies. And this card here, just absolutely screamed at me. I'm having a little bit of trouble with StreamYard here, guys. And let me see if I can. Give me a second. And there's the Hank. 4.5. Absolutely beautiful. Corners, perfect. A lot of times the 54 tops that I absolutely love, the white border will kind of yellow a little bit. So and sometimes you have to get into the higher grades to get it more white. But man, these borders are white. There's not a wrinkle on this thing. The color is very vibrant. It was a 4.5. He was asking a fair price for it, but again, it was on the high side of comps. So it was, I was looking for 3.5 to 4. So it was a considerable jump in cash. So I thought I'm gonna I offered him, I offered him 500 less than he was asking. And he thought about it and he countered. And I said, well, what about if we go 500 less and if I throw in these two cards for trade? And I took two cards with me, a 61 Topps Mantle in a 3 that I didn't like. The centering was not good for me. It's a nice card, but the centering just wasn't good enough. And I had a 52 Bowman Yogi. There's a PSA 2 or an SGC 2. Same thing. Centering was not good. Just not really a good card for me. Didn't really like it. So I said, how about this much in cash and these two cards? And he said, sure, I'll do it. And yeah, that was a happy moment. So to me, at this point, I would have been fine if I left at this point. So ran into the guys, and I said, Tony, I have got a banger of all bangers for me. So showed him the card. Of course, they were just absolutely ecstatic, which was cool. It's always cool when other people are excited when you're excited. So that was nice. But I did have one problem now. So I love the 61 Mantles. So even though I didn't like the one I had, and I took, of course, I took that one to trade, which was fine. But I needed to, now I'm on the hunt. I'm like, I need to find a mantle while I'm here, a 61 mantle. I need to upgrade and find one to replace it. So it's funny. I left that table and thought, if I can find that mantle before the show closes here tonight on Thursday night, it'll be a good night. So lo and behold, I found it. It was a really good price. The centering it's good centering. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a better card than the 3 that I had. So I got my Hank. I got rid of the mantle I didn't like. Found another mantle I did like. Man, left there super happy. Went to the YouTube get together, and I know I'm not going to rehash what happened there. You guys all know that kind of broke down due to the national kind of shutting it down where we were going to hold it. So we wound up going. Some of us wound up going back to dinner at Shoeless Joe's with a little bigger group, and just had a really good time. Met some new folks. Spent a lot of time talking to them about cards and just had a really, really, really good night. Went back to the hotel. I actually left before Tony did. I hooked a ride back with my new buddy, Jason, who also has a YouTube channel, and hit the bed probably, Tony came in maybe an hour or two later. And I was absolutely gassed. I had what I call card back. My back was hurting from bent over looking at cards, but it was an absolute great day. So go to bed, and now we've got one more day left. One more day. I've got Friday, and I don't have a ton of money left. So I thought, I've picked off my big stuff that I'm looking for on my list. I'm still looking for one more thing, though, and that's that 65 Maris to finish my dad's run. So I really would like to finish that. So kind of making some rounds, hitting some tables that we'd already been to, and just looking a little closer now, since now I'm not looking for my top items. I've already found those. So I'm like, maybe I've missed some stuff. So did have quite a few pickups on Friday, actually. The first pickup that I had on Friday is another one of the 53 Bowman cards that I talked about. And I'm having some issues here, guys. I'm having to wrestle the technology a little bit. I'll get better at this. I appreciate you guys being patient with me. And I think I'm actually going to talk to Vintage Dan. I know he uses StreamYard, and he's been very nice and helpful with me. So I'm going to ask him a few questions. But here's the card that first card that I picked up on Friday, and is actually a Phil Rizzuto 53 Bowman color card. And if I can ever get the thing, and here it is. Checks all my boxes, centered nicely. The corner's pretty good. Love that card. Love that card. You can see Yankee Stadium in the background. Love Phil Rizzuto's cards. You can get really nice cards for him fairly cheap. So get this card. And then I don't buy anything for a while. And I'm just walking around, and me and Tony talk to a guy. We start talking about SEC football. We go to another table and notice this guy has a lot of autographed cards. And I forgot I bought this card, and I actually love Rizzuto. Love his cards. And when I saw this card, I bought it. It's autographed. Got it pretty cheap. It's autographed with a Sharpie, so you can, obviously this is as he was older. But I like the Sharpie autographs better myself, especially when you can read them. And then when I went to put this in my bag, I saw this card, and I'm like, well, you dummy. You just bought that. So I'll be looking to move one of these. If anybody out there is interested in this unsigned card, I'd love to sell it. It was fairly inexpensive, but anyway, that's what happens when you get excited and you're not really paying attention. My next pickup, also next year, what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to try to write down the names of the dealers that I buy stuff from, because I want to go back to them, and they were just so nice. This next card that I bought, I love the 52 Tops. And I had been looking for, these cards were not on my list. I had been looking for both of them. And they weren't on my list, but this guy had both of these cards at his table. And let me get those up over here. And he was a really nice fellow, an older fellow, and we talked for quite a while. He actually had his grandson with him, and his grandson had a huge setup of Type 1 and Type 2 photos. But the older fellow was selling the baseball cards, and both of these are, it's tough to find the 52 Tops centered at all, but the corners are really good on these. The coloring is good. Love the Larry Doby card. Love the Larry Doby card. Had to have it. The story on Jim Turner. So Jim Turner played for the Yankees. He was on, I think, the 43 Yankees World Series championship team. And in 52, he was the Yankees pitching coach. But me and my dad would go to Sounds games in the 80s here in Nashville. And I can remember Jim Turner, he lived in Nashville. And by then he was well into his 80s, I think. And the Sounds were the AAA minor league team for the Yankees. So Mr. Turner, being a Nashvilleian and having played for the Yankees, he came to a ton of Nashville Sounds games, and he sat not too far from where we did. He had to have season tickets. And me and my dad would go to 20 or 30 games a year. And I can still remember, if me and dad were at the game, and to our left, we kind of sat behind home plate looking up the first baseline. And Mr. Turner sat to our left, sort of over the dugout between home and third base. And he would be dressed nice. And I can still remember him walking down the steps, carrying his cushion. And my dad would say, Mr. Turner's here tonight. And we actually met him, went over and met him. And I think I have his autograph around here somewhere on Nashville Sounds ticket stub. He was so nice, but just having that, small connection with him, and that story with me and my dad and Mr. Turner, I had to have this card Bought these two cards from this fellow, and I'm like, what is this NBA slab? What does this mean? And I'm sure you guys know more about it than I do, but apparently the guy that does the NBA slabs used to be a grader, I think, for PSA. So I kind of rolled the dice on these. I didn't really care because I like the card, but the price that I paid for these was basically PSA 5 price, a little bit less than that middle price for PSA 5 on VCP. The guy came down quite a bit. So I think probably what I'm going to do is crack these and get them reslabbed, send them in raw to probably to PSA. I'm not certain, but I think I am going to take them out of these slabs. But anyway, this kind of bonus pickups, super happy about these. I'm running a little bit long here. All my YouTube experts have said I need to stay under an hour. So I've got several cards left. I'm going to skip a couple. I bought a 67 Topps Rose and Aaron. I'm not going to show those. Those were pickups of cards that I kind of just started liking the 67 Rose and Aaron a couple of weeks before the show and saw those, and they were kind of cheap, and I don't know, sort of an impulse purchase. Picked up a 57 Topps Tony Kubek rookie. Those are fairly easy to find. You know what? I think I am going to show that one because the centering on the one that I found, they're not too hard to find centered, but you know, since centering is such a big deal to me, I do want to, I will go ahead and show. I will go ahead and show this one. There it is. It looks like it's got a little ding right there. I think that's not on the card. I think that's on the cover on the slab. But man, I love that card. Tony Kubek rookie. Just a beautiful card. Beautiful card. That was kind of a throw-in, relatively cheap, but very, very, very happy to pick it up. All these cards that really weren't on my list that I'm picking up, they're cards that I was interested in, but I didn't put them on my list because I didn't want to have a 2-page list. I'm also working on a Jim Gilliam run. He is he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers and LA Dodgers. And he's a Nashvilleian. He's from here in Nashville. So he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he was a very good player. His cards are fairly easy to find and not too terribly expensive. So I've been working on a Jim Gilliam run, and this was a card that I needed. And I actually got this in the 7.5 for pretty cheap. So I'm down to maybe 2 Gilliam cards that I need. I need 53, which is his rookie, and then there's one other card that I need. So pick that up. So the show just keeps getting better and better. Then I find, the day's winding down. And there were a couple of gravy cards that I think I mentioned that I was looking for, and that's the 49 Yogi Berra and the I believe the 58 World Series batting foes with Aaron and Mantle. And I love looking at raw cards, but I don't really like buying raw cards that are, anything more than cheap. If it's a cheap raw card, I don't mind buying it, but there's just something about paying very much money for a raw card. I think probably, but the reason that I'm kind of shaky on it is I've only been back in the hobby for a year, and with the graded cards, you kind of you know what the going rate is. And I'm afraid on the ungraded cards sometimes I'm going to miss something and maybe get the shaft. But I saw these two cards, and they were both on my list. And I've been looking long and hard for these, and I rolled the dice. So the card on the left got a pretty good price on it. And, the price I paid for this was about a PSA 2 price. And looking at the card, I thought that's fair. That's about what it's going to grade out as. Okay, this card on the right, the 49 Barra, this thing, if you see this thing in person, the centering is not perfect, but the color is perfect. The corners are outstanding. But I knew these cards were notorious for being trimmed, and that really, really scared me. So I talked to the guy about it, and he said, well, why don't we just measure it together? So he breaks out a ruler, he hands it to me. We Googled size of a 49 Bowman. We measured it. He had a ruler that you could put on top and you could see through the ruler. So it was very, very easy to measure. I measured it, in 3 places horizontally, and then I measured it 3 places vertically, and it looked perfect. It looked like it fit. So then it was down to negotiating the price, and he was asking, I want to say he was asking over $600 for this card. And I'm like, man, I'm just not sure I want to pay that much for a raw card. I'm not sure it's going to grade out. What if it does come back as trimmed? I think the authentic version of that is only worth $300. So even though I like it, I don't really want to take a $300 bath. So get him down to, I think I got him down to, I offered $525 and he was at $575. And he said, I tell you what, I'll flip you. We'll flip a coin for the last $50. So we did. I lost, paid $575 for it. But was still happy with the pickup. Wound up next in the lounge, just kind of hanging out for a while with Tony. Tony was talking to a fellow that had owned a card that he had bought. The guy had owned the card previously, and we're just sitting there, and Vintage Dan comes over. And I show Vintage Dan my pickup, and he's like, man, that's a super nice card, but I'm worried that it's trimmed. But maybe not. But he said I would recommend sending it to PSA because PSA may be a little less stringent on trimming than SGC. I'm like, okay, that's what I'll do. So that was my plan. And then we're walking around the show a little bit more. We meet back up with Greg, and we're right by the SGC, their setup. And there's absolutely nobody at SGC. And Tony said, if you want to get those cards graded, a pro tip, you can pay $25 extra a card for the expedited shipping. And for $40-50 a card, you'll have it back, within a week. So I thought, I don't, even though I know what Dan said, and I know Vintage Dan was probably right, I got to know. I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I took these 2 cards over to SGC, sent them off. About 3 days later, get the email, or I guess it was about 5 days later, get the email that they've been graded and they're on their way back. And I thought, I'm not going to log in and look. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait until they get here. I'm going to unbox it, and I'm going to hope that it doesn't say evidence of trimming. So when they showed up, let me show you. Hang on one second. And this is what I'm going to get better at, guys. I've got to learn it a little bit. But these come back from SGC. Bam. A 3 on the World Series batting foes. Very happy with that. And then a 5 on that Yogi. So I got a pretty good deal. Not a great deal, but I did get a pretty good deal on that. But I was just so happy that it didn't say evidence of trimming. So absolutely ecstatic. Both of these cards were in my gravy list. So man, my list, at this point, I've got everything checked off except for that 65 Maris. And I'm down to about an hour left at the show. And I had actually seen one, but it was a little more than I wanted to spend. It was a higher grade than a 4. But I thought, I don't care. I'm just going to buy it. So I was going to walk back over to that. And I just kind of started checking some tables out between where I was and where I thought I was headed to make that purchase. And I think it was going to cost me I want to say it was about $150 card. So it was probably a 6 or a 7, I think. And then I stopped and saw this particular Maris that checked every single one of my boxes and finished my list. The 65 Roger Maris finished Dad's list, finished his run on Roger Maris. And at this point, well, number one, I'm broke because I spent everything I took except for, I think I came home with $400. But I got every single thing that I was looking for. I got the Aaron rookie. I got let's go back to my wish list. The Aaron rookie got one better than what I thought I was going to find. The Yogi Bear of the Whitey Ford finished my dad's run, got all of the gravies, and even picked up a few extras that weren't on there. So I had so many slabs that I didn't really think, I took a carry-on and in my backpack with my work laptop in it, and I didn't really think about how I was going to get all this stuff back home, but I was able to jam it all into my backpack, put some in my carry-on. But it was just an absolutely outstanding week. Got back home, family came in town. My son was here. I showed him my cards. My wife said, I want to see your cards. So I'm like, are you sure? So Monday night, I laid them all out on the coffee table in the living room and went through a mini version of what I just did with you guys. And she looked at him. She was very supportive. And she said, okay, that's cool. I turned the TV back on. So it was just an absolutely wonderful week. My buying I'm not buying very much. I'm not really buying anything actually now. Well, I did make one pickup today that I'll share with you guys later. But just a wonderful week, great week with Tony, with Greg, and then with making new friends with Coach, with Mike Petty, and with so many other folks that I met along the way. It was just simply an outstanding week, and I can't wait to go to Strongsville. I'm thinking the stars are going to align for me to go this coming year and then the national next year. So thank you all for joining me tonight and going through my 25 cards that I bought while I was at the National, and just encourage you all to collect what you like and just have fun. If you don't have any money, just have fun looking. Just have fun rearranging your cards at home. Just have fun reading about cards. You don't have to spend money to have fun. And I guess until our next video, want to go to a card show?